So last week, Amazon finally decided on who will be directing the next James Bond film. It turned out that it was none other than legendary filmmaker Denis Villeneuve, who I'm sure was a big surprise for many. As I said in my announcement video, I loved the choice to go with Denis, and while I was hoping for someone like a Christopher Nolan to make a Bond film, a director that has proven he can take on a popular franchise, do it well, and implement his filmmaking style successfully, hiring director Denis Villeneuve is just as great. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing why I think Denis Villeneuve is the perfect choice for James Bond, what it could mean for the next film, and what it could look like. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more content on the director, his Dune films, and the next James Bond movie, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into why Denis Villeneuve is perfect for James Bond. So the directors of past James Bond films have predominantly been seasoned professionals, with a select few possessing the esteemed reputation of a filmmaker that has just been attached to make one. One could certainly argue that director Sam Mendes fit this description when he was chosen to helm Skyfall, suggesting that the franchise was suddenly reaching for greater heights. However, following the exit of the Broccoli family, and with Amazon now steering the ship, their initial decision is to enlist one of the top two filmmakers in the industry, a visual master in director Denis Villeneuve. This is a massive step forward and something that I never thought I would see when it came to a James Bond film. Over the past few years, there's been this question regarding the possibility of great auteur filmmakers who have shown a keen interest in directing taking the helm of a Bond film. But now that question has been answered. At first, I had conflicting views regarding the Amazon merger, as I thought there was a good chance that might extinguish the remnants of the Bond legacy. I was apprehensive about witnessing the Bond franchise being dismantled and transformed into a streaming empire that reduces Bond to mere content. However, the news that the new Bond producers Amy Pascal and David Heyman have selected Denis Villeneuve to direct the next Bond film for Amazon changes everything entirely. Keep in mind that the last two occasions when Villeneuve tackled a much-loved cinematic franchise that had been dormant for some time, we received Blade Runner 2049 and Dune. It's quite astonishing to realise that for many years, people claimed a sequel to Blade Runner was unfeasible and that Dune could never be done properly. However, Villeneuve's remarkable talent lies in his deep understanding of what makes the material he engages with exceptional. He had a profound appreciation for Blade Runner and Dune, and judging by what he's just said, he has a similar affection for James Bond. During the announcement last week, the director said, "I grew up watching James Bond films with my father ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I'm a die-hard Bond fan, and to me, Bond is sacred territory. I intend to honour the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come." Now, it's important to note that Villeneuve isn't only directing, because he's also serving as an executive producer, marking the first instance of this happening on a Bond film. This grants him significant influence and underscores that this won't just be a Bond movie directed by Denis. This is Denis Villeneuve's take on Bond, and to me, that is very exciting. The only thing I've heard from this announcement that worries me is the recent rumours from Variety stating that the director won't have final cut. The Variety article said that Amazon was interested in having Christopher Nolan direct the next Bond film and was willing to grant him final cut. They ultimately chose Denis Villeneuve instead, who will reportedly not have final cut. This is a bit strange to me, and I have to believe that in choosing a filmmaker like Denis, they will give him a lot of control on the way he puts the film together. So until we hear more about this issue, I'm not going to get too over-worried. Everything else lines up, and it seems that Denis will get a lot of control over making his Bond film, as he is the executive producer. And again, if that is the case, I think we're in for something special. This brings me on to what a Denis Villeneuve Bond film might look like, because bringing on a prestige filmmaker like this can change the game completely. When Villeneuve is at his best, he is a brilliant filmmaker, embedding drama with an element of risk. His 2013 film Prisoners and the more recent Sicario film are excellent illustrations of this. He has proved himself to be a genius at creating immersive worlds on screen, and to craft a great James Bond film for our times, one must envision and construct the world of Bond in a powerful way. For some of us, the allure of Bond's classic masculine charm is eternal, and what the Bond franchise requires now is a director capable of reviving that essence in a manner that re-establishes the legendary enchantment of Bond. This is precisely what director Martin Campbell achieved with Casino Royale, a film that resonated more with the Sean Connery classics, while simultaneously presenting a complex and emotionally nuanced film. I personally think that after Casino Royale, Craig's Bond increasingly became emotionally detached, leaving him with a constant desire to only pursue the mission. I get that this was the point, but the charm he displayed in Casino and the charm of other Bonds in lesser artistically driven films is something that many people want back. Not just that, but the recent movies have taken quite a lot from other staple franchises of the era. For instance, while I like Skyfall as a film, it shared very similar tendencies to other dark staple blockbusters of the century, with Nolan's The Dark Knight being a very popular comparison point. So essentially, I think it's time for a reset artistically, but one that brings us back to a Bond with the charm of old. And with that reset, I think picking a filmmaker like Denis Villeneuve is an unbelievable choice. And naturally, he will require the perfect actor to pull off his Bond film. The performers currently under discussion for the role include Jacob Elordi, Tom Holland and Harris Dickinson, and while they do have a lot of talent, I do think they are quite young for the role. It's important to note that these are Amazon's reported picks for the character, so if Denis is getting the freedom we think he has, then I think he'll pick someone else by the time a script is written. I will be doing a video on my predictions for the Bond casting, but for now, I think it's just very exciting to think about. Denis is one of the best in the business when it comes to adaptation casting, and if you look at what he did with Dune, Arrival and so on, there's no limit to the talent he's worked with. So with whoever he does cast as Bond, I think he's going to make a solid choice. The last thing that to me you have to be excited about when it comes to Denis Villeneuve making Bond is the visual filmmaking. Now sure, for a lot of the recent releases, Bond has looked great on the big screen, and I think that's one area where I love all of the Craig movies. Each film had a visual style that was fitting and tone setting for that project. But signing on someone like Denis is signalling to us that you are taking this to another level. To be honest, even ahead of someone like Christopher Nolan, who's my favourite filmmaker today, Denis to me is the best visual storyteller out there right now. His frames hold so much striking simplicity, yet brilliant detail and mood setting all at the same time. In capturing the settings and action of a Bond film, I couldn't think of anyone better to bring both style and substance to the frames we get on screen. Like, just imagine Denis working with Roger Deakins again, who did shoot Skyfall, or even Greg Fraser on the next Bond film. It would be visually stunning, and I think their collaborations are nothing short of gold. So in adding all of this together, I think Villeneuve is one of the best adapters in the industry right now. How he adapted Dune, how he adapted Arrival, Blade Runner 2049 and Sicario just shows how much passion he has for taking known stories and properties, adapting them the right way, but then doing so with his auteur stamp. So if he does so again, I think this could be one of the greatest takes on the character. At this point, it's undeniable that James Bond stands at a pivotal moment. With fresh ownership, there's a risk that things can go very wrong. However, as much as it pains me to admit, I think that the character of Bond during the Daniel Craig era, after Casino Royale of course, continued to move further off-road. The series just kept going, and I was beginning to feel a bit fatigued by the same thing. It was with No Time to Die that I became genuinely frustrated, as I believe that film did more harm to Bond's character than it suggested. For one, I would love a film that introduces a new perspective, while one that brings back Bond's sense of danger. This quality arises from the character's contradiction, the truth that he is two things simultaneously. He's a compassionate killer whose overpowering allure renders him romantic. If Denis does this right and finds the balance in his approach, then I think James Bond will strike a chord with me once again. In my view, the director's skill in creating blockbuster excitement and visual grandeur makes him an ideal choice for this role. Villeneuve possesses the unique talent to merge the thrilling pace of a blockbuster film with the delicate, intricate sensibilities of a filmmaker who consistently focuses on deepening character development and thematic exploration. It is expected that Denis will bring a sense of atmospheric and grand world building to Bond and have rich visuals and effects that appear organic and realistic. And while I do think that this is going to be the case, I also think that Denis is going to honour the legacy and charm of Bond in a way we haven't seen for some time. I was saying this to someone the other day that I see this as Villeneuve's Dark Knight trilogy. And the reason I say that is because when a director like Nolan signed on to do Batman before those films, he was proving himself as an auteur filmmaker who made moody thrillers and neo-noirs. He then did Batman and combined his filmmaking style with the qualities that people love about Batman or modern edgier blockbusters. I see Villeneuve doing that for Bond. And while his Dune films have become a staple franchise prior, I still think that they come under the more artsy property than Bond, more of a comparison to his Blade Runner 2049 film. With James Bond, I think he needs to have more of a balance. He can adapt all the conventions of a Bond film, but then artistically and aesthetically take it on in the Villeneuve way. The overall influence Villeneuve has on the franchise is still yet to be seen. Yet it is certainly a positive sign that the studio has confidence in a filmmaker who has become one of the prominent auteurs of the century. If there is someone who can withstand the pressures of a big property, treat a historically beloved series with delicacy, and then add his personal touch to it, then it is Denis Villeneuve. I only hope that he can fulfill his vision and that it will be worth the wait. It has been reported that Amazon are looking for a 2028 release date following Denis working on his Dune Messiah film, so we might be waiting a good few years until we actually see it. But that was my video discussing why I think Denis Villeneuve is the perfect director for James Bond. As a whole, I'm interested to see what direction Villeneuve and Amazon will go in with this, and the next announcement will probably be the casting of Bond himself, alongside the writers and Denis' creative team. Hopefully, Denis is really allowed to make it his own aesthetically, while retaining the traditional aspects that people want from a Bond film. But let me know down below in the comment section what you think towards the confirmation that Denis Villeneuve is making the next James Bond movie, and who you would like to see be cast as Bond in the next film. For much more content on Denis Villeneuve and his future projects, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.